So next we've got John Cobb, and John's a retired project health and safety manager, predominantly on the rail network. He's been a ufologist for some 45 years, obtaining a distinction diploma with the Centre of Excellence in 2018. John's a spiritualist as well as ufology. He has an interest in the paranormal and is currently in a development circle practicing mediumship twice weekly. John writes his own poetry and has published a book of poetry entitled Randoms. He is currently working on the follow-up book, Even More Random, which will be on the themes of mental health, addiction and suicide prevention. These are issues very close to John's heart. Other hobbies John enjoys are drawing mandalas and sacred geometry, which he uses to send out healing to whoever needs it. And John is a fellow Macam. That means something to some of you. So John's going to be talking to us on Nazis, reptilians and Die Glocke. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Gordon. Before I start, I'd just like to thank Alison, Malcolm and Ron for allowing me to speak. I have a disability, I have mental health issues and physical disabilities. But I'd like to say to anybody in the room, never have a disability be a barrier to you. Not a barrier. Anybody who wants to do this event, I mean, they've bent over backwards for myself. Yeah, like I said, I've supported this event since the inception, and I thought, can I? And I took the plunge, so here I am today. And like I say, thank you, Ron, Alison, and Malcolm for making it possible. Thank you. So, Die Glocke. Much of what transpired during the later stages of the Second World War was a matter of fact. Other events are a matter of conjecture. The Battle of Los Angeles was a matter of fact, even though no one totally could explain it. The missing American blimp pirates is a matter of conjecture. Die Glocke, the Nazi bell, is most certainly a what-if. Fact or fiction? The truth is sometimes stranger than fiction. So, in short, Die Glocke, or the bell, is an alleged top-secret pinnacle of the Nazi Wunderwaffe war effort. The Nazi bell supposedly had some kind of anti-gravitational effect. This terrifying object might have escaped the world's notice were it not for the intrepid journalist named Igor Witowski. In the year 2000, Witowski published a book in his native Poland entitled Prawda or Wunderwaffe, or The Truth About the Wonder Weapon. In this expose, Witowski revealed and first read transcripts of an interrogation session of former SS officer Jacob Sporenberg. Witowski went on to say he was provided with classified documents in relation to the Nazi secret weapons by a Polish intelligence officer, which he refused to identify. Although prohibited from taking direct copies of the files, Witowski received permission to transcribe them. Despite this lack of solid evidence to substantiate Witowski's claims, the groundwork he performed did pique the interest of British author Nick Cook, who took up the mantle and presented the story of the Nazi bell to a much wider audience in the book The Hunt for 0 Point. The atomic bomb was not the only project to occupy government scientists during the 1940s. Anti-gravity technology, originally spearheaded by scientists in Nazi Germany, was another very high priority, one that still may be in effect today. 0 point energy is a limited source of potential power that may hold the key to defying and thereby controlling gravity, which does exist in the universe and it can be replicated. The pressure to be the first nation to harness gravity is immense, and it means having the ability to build military planes of unlimited speed and range, along with the most deadliest weaponry the world has ever seen. The ideal shape of a gravity-defying vehicle happens to be the perfect disk, making anti-gravity tests a possibility for numerous UFO sightings during the past 50 years. When the Bell was in operation, it was said to have a pair of counter-rotating cylinders filled with a violet-coloured substance similar to mercury. This metallic liquid had an exotic name of Xerium 525. When not powering the Bell, it was stored in a metre-tall thermos flask lined with lead. Another liquid used in the Bell's operation, including something called litch's metal or light metal. Perhaps this was some sort of lubricant or coolant, like adding fluids to the engine of a normal vehicle. Allegedly, early testing of the Bell proved catastrophic. A strong radiation emitted from the device supposedly led to the deaths of 8 of the 11 Nazi scientists and animal test subjects. At the end of the Second World War, both the Bell and its team of scientists and developers all disappeared. SS General Hans Kammer, in command of the Third Reich secret projects, also disappeared without trace. According to the legend, Nazi Germany constructed only 2 Nazi Bells. The second of these was JU 390 and has not been recovered. Either the US military took possession of Kammer and the Bell, or a South American Nazi sympathizing nation took both man and machine. The Glocke, or the Bell, like I said, was a purported top-secret Nazi scientific technology device, a secret weapon, a wonder wave. Mainstream reviewers have criticised claims about the Glocke as being pseudo-scientific, recycled rumours and a hoax. Cook described Westhouse's claims of a device that was glowing, rotating contraption, rumoured to have some kind of anti-gravitation effect, be a time machine or part of an SS anti-gravity programme for flying saucers. The Glocke was bell-shaped, 12 feet high and 9 feet in diameter at its widest point. Production of the Bell was made inside a facility known as the Rise, or the Giant, close to the Czech border. A mysterious fly-top structure built above a top-secret network of tunnels by the Nazis in the Second World War may well have been the launch pad for an experiment flying saucer. Experts have suggested this bizarre arched circular structure was part of the clandestine Project Rise operation, in which a deep network of tunnels was built by concentration camp prisoners in 1944 in the Sowie Mountains in occupied Poland. Hans Kammer was a highly ranking member of the Nazi Party, responsible for Nazi engineering projects and also its top-secret V for Vengeance weapons program. Kammer oversaw construction of many Nazi concentration camps and oversaw the design and installation of a more efficient cremation facilities in Auschwitz and Birkenau when the Nazis converted them to extermination camps. Under Hans Kammer's supervision, new crematoria were planned during 1942 at Birkenau to facilitate burning a staggering 120,000 corpses per month. On December the 19th, 1943, Hammer updated Himmler about the slow progress of both Auschwitz and Medensk regarding the construction was, among other issues, deemed due to manpower shortages. By late March 1944, the systematic mass deportation of the Jewish faith to Auschwitz began. Hammer's manpower shortage was sorted overnight. Albert Speer, Himmler's chief architect, placed Hammer among Himmler's most brutal and ruthless henchmen. And as I mentioned, Hammer disappeared in May 1945 in the final days of the war. There has been much conjecture regarding his fate, but the smart money is Hammer is in America under Operation Paperclip. Operation Paperclip, also called Project Paperclip, was a US government program that sponsored the post-war immigration of German and Austrian scientists and technicians to the United States in order to exploit their knowledge for military and industrial purposes. Project Paperclip lasted less than 2 years, but similar programs continued until 1962. Ultimately, approximately 1,600 German and Austrian professionals and their families were relocated to the United States, the majority of them becoming US citizens. All of these German and Austrian scientists and technicians, regardless of the program in which they were recruited to, and commonly said to have been part of Project Paperclip. While Project Paperclip scientists and engineers were said to have unwittingly joined the Nazi Party solely as a condition of securing employment in the Third Reich, the truth proved to be far more complicated. There were numerous incidents when the US military staff covered up information about the backgrounds of former Nazis who the Americans had deemed would be national security assets. To achieve any success in the Third Reich, it had been necessary to demonstrate loyalty to the regime and to develop a close relationship with Adolf Hitler's inner circle. Moreover, weapons factories and labs had been conducted experiments in Nazi Germany and employed slave labour. While experts recruited through Project Paperclip often said that they had been ignorant of the breadth of criminality of the slave labour and concentration camp system, their claims were questioned by later analysis. Some infamous cases came to light in which Nazi experts who had acted as persecutors had been granted residency in the United States or had been allowed to enter the country through paperclip-related programs. Now, it really does make a mockery of the Nuremberg war trials. You know, you've got people who were shot, hung, put in prison, and you've got guys like Hammer, who got in America through the back door, Slate Kling, and it wasn't just Hammer. There was a lot of other high-ranking Nazis who went through America through Operation Paperclip or other projects like that. The program was run by a newly formed Joint Intelligence Objective Agency, or the GIOA, whose goal was to harness German intellectual resources to help develop Americans' arsenal of rockets and other biological and chemical weapons, and to ensure such coveted information did not fall into the hands of the Soviet Union. Although he officially sanctioned the operation, President Harry Truman forbade the agency from recruiting any Nazi members or active Nazi supporters. Nevertheless, officials within the GIOA and the Office of Strategic Services, which was the forerunner to the CIA, bypassed this directive by eliminating or whitewashing incriminating evidence of possible war crimes. So we have Warner von Braun. Yeah. So, genius or war criminal? The former member of the Nazi Party commissioned as Sturmbannführer, which was a general, of the paramilitary SS and decorated Nazi war hero, von Braun would be later regarded as the preeminent rocket engineer of the 20th century in his role with the United States Civilian Space Agency, NASA. In his 20s and 30s, von Braun was a central figure in Germany's rocket development program, responsible for the design and realization of the deadly V-2 rocket during World War II. He was the jewel in the crown, as each of the Allies raced to capture him after the war had ended. At the end of the World War II, Braun, his younger brother Magnus, and the entire German rocket development team surrendered to US troops. Within a few months, Braun and about 100 members of his group were at the US Army Ordnance Corps site at White Sands near Mexico, where they tested, assembled and supervised the launching of captured V-2s for high-altitude research purposes. They were all allowed to immigrate to the United States because of their expert knowledge, was deemed critical to defeat Japan and post-war the struggle against communism. The V-2, with the technical name Aggregate 4, was the world's first long-range guided ballistic missile. The missile, powered by a liquid propellant rocket engine, was developed during World War II in Nazi Germany as a vengeance weapon and assigned to attack Allied cities in retaliation for the Allied bombings of German cities. The V-2 rocket also became the first artificial object to travel into space by crossing the Kármán line, which is a purported conventional boundary between Earth's atmosphere and outer space, set by the international record-keeping body, the FIA, the Federation of the Aeronautique Internationale. And these rockets went at an altitude of 100 kilometres, which is 54 nautical miles, or 62 miles, 330,000 feet above mean sea level. A series of prototypes culminated in the A4, which went to war as the V-2. Beginning in September 1944, more than 3,000 V-2s were launched against Allied targets, first in London and later in Antwerp and Liège. The attacks from V-2s resulted in the deaths of an estimated 9,000 civilians and army personnel. The largest loss of life attributed to V-2 attacks is when a roof in a crowded cinema was struck by the missile. The attack resulted in 567 dead and 291 injured. A further 12,000 forced labourers and Nazi concentration camp prisoners died as a result of their forced participation with the production of these weapons. And all this was under the control of von Braun. So he was basically responsible for the deaths of all those people. He knew what was going on in these concentration camps because he visited these camps, and he turned a blind eye to the brutality and the treatment these prisoners were going through. There was one story about Kammer. They were building the tunnels in Project Rise, and there was 80 of the prisoners went in a delegation to complain about the conditions. Kammer took a machine gun and he killed them all. And the bodies were entombed in the concrete of the tunnels. So that's the monster, basically, like the Americans let in through the back door. At the end of the war, the bell was moved to an unknown location. Fringe theorists have suggested that a concrete ring called the Henge near Wenceslas mine, built in 1943 or 1944 and vaguely resembling Stonehenge, was used as a launch pad for the bell. According to skeptics, the structure is merely the remains of an ordinary industrial cooling tower. What makes the bell so special is the mystery that surrounds its supposed existence, the end it had, which remains a mystery. The bell was made of a very heavy metal and was chained to the ground. When the two cylinders rotated clockwise, it gave off an eerie, sinister glow. The exterior of the artifact was lined with ceramic material. Interestingly, NASA's space shuttles, such as Columbus, were wrapped in its more superficial layer by a coating of tiles, which acted as a thermal insulator. The original plans for the bell were lost after much of the rise was destroyed by Allied bombing. But what was the Nazi bell and what was it used for? It was the first prototype anti-gravity engine and opened up a new path in physics and technologies. In this way, this technological ingenuity could serve as the propulsion needed by the Nazi UFOs that were developed in the last phases of the war. The ultra-secret project of the Nazi bell was commanded by Hans Kammer. Hans Kammer was in command of the underground construction in the frozen waste of Antarctica and other projects. It says the bell was never captured, or did the bell exist at all? Did the Americans, with the cooperation of Warner, von Braun and Hans Kammer, steal the bell? Or was the bell just hype from SS propaganda ministry? Is there proof the bell existed? There are various accounts and reports. Some include the interrogation of mid-level commander Rudolf Schuster at the Berlin Document Center about the evacuation of the bell by air in 1945. Written statement by SS Lieutenant General Jakob Sporenberg, Gestapo Police Chief, Lublin, occupied Poland. Dr. Wilhelm Voss, Chief Executive of the Giant Skoda Works in Czechoslovakia. Soviet plasma scientist Jan Foloff, in 1983, interviewed to Professor Baron Manfred von Ardheim. Railway employee Jochen Ibram from IPO. The Argentinian Economic Ministry report declassified in 1993. The bell being unloaded from a multi-engined German aircraft in May of 1945. For a long time, alternate universes have been used as a plot for a novel or simply a story for a movie. But there are many people who wonder what their life will be like in a parallel universe, or if there is an alternate version of themselves in another dimension. Recently, one sub-object was found that cannot be explained. It could be the result of time travel or interdimensional travel. The object is a 2039 coin. The most surprising thing about the Nazi campaign was that the secret project had been developed with the names Kronos, which was time, and Lantern Frege, which was light bearer, with strange secret documents referring, to a gate of time. It seems that the real secret of the Nazi campaign is that the Glocke could have been a time machine. A time machine could be a great effective weapon, the ultimate weapon to go back and change the course of the war. The theory of the time machine sounds like a H.G. Wells novel, but there may be some truth in that the coin dated in 2039 was found in Mexico. The mysterious coin, found on a work site in Mexico by Diego Avils, who explains the date caught his attention. As I said, the date on the Reichsmark was 2039. The 2039 coin had the symbol of the Nazi Party, the eagle and the swastika, and a few words written in Spanish that said New Germany. It is known that there is no record of the arrival of any German currency in Mexico. Or on the backside of the coin is the Iron Cross and the phrase Allah ein Nation, which translates to all in one nation. A motto that would perfectly serve a country that has dominated the world. Many conspiracy theorists have claimed it is a coin of an alternative future where the Nazis conquered the world, developed time travel, and sent money back to the past where currencies ended up in our reality. Other conspiracy theorists argued that it's the evidence of a future time travel, a test that shows how Germany will be a key country in the imminent Third World War that is unfolding in Ukraine, China, and North Korea. They also added that the Nazis living in a secret city of New Schwabenland, New Berlin, in Antarctica, will join the Germans of the Fourth Reich. Secret Nazi technology has been exposed more than 70 years after World War II, according to outrageous claims online. Video footage showing captured in Gothenburg, Sweden, shows the bizarre scenes that commuters were faced on October the 6th, 2018, as drivers looked up to the sky. A strange bell-shaped object can be seen floating above the city. Stunned pedestrians stopped in the middle of the street in awe, while others pulled out their mobile phones to record. Film taken appears to show the anomaly turn around, while onlookers laughed nervously. It was witnessed by a Marais Millard, who claimed it was huge, like a building. The story was picked up by popular conspiracy channel Security Team 10, and Tyler Glocke, who runs the page, speculated it could be secret Nazi technology. It really looks like a bell, specifically out of the Germans in the 1940s, he said. Germany was the very first nation to get hold of reverse engineering alien technology. Hitler harnessed the anti-gravity technology, which was then used throughout and after the war. There is even a possibility of a connection between one of the most secret Nazi projects and a mysterious crash in the United States some 2 decades later. Based on leaked Nazi documents from the Second World War, a link with the Glocke and the Kecksburg UFO incident came to light. The Glocke was the first bell, was one of the Third Reich's most ambitious projects. When the bell was active, anything within 200 metres would suffer great injury, if not death. Effects of these injuries included the formation of crystals in animal tissues and gelling and separation of the blood. A mirror-like material lined the interior of the bell, and when active, this mirror would show visions of the past or the future. And the craft even had the ability to bend time and space. Essentially, it is a Nazi time machine. It is possible that the strange acorn-shaped craft that crash-landed in Woodland in Kecksburg was in fact the Nazi bell, and Himmler and project leader Hans Kammer transported themselves 2 decades in time, regardless of how bizarre it may sound. Or, might it be more probable, the bell ended up with its technology in the United States at the end of the war. This might explain why the military arrived at the Kecksburg incident so quickly. Again. Again. The secret Nazi superfortress in Antarctica, fact or fiction. The idea that the Nazis set up a secret base in Antarctica may sound like a crazy conspiracy theory, from the darkest recesses of the internet. But this story has actually been around since shortly after the war. It is claimed Hitler survived the war, and U-boats that docked in Argentina after the war had first dropped him off at a secret Nazi base. It is proposed that the Schwabenland, the German ship that sailed to Antarctica in 1938, had set up the base there. British and American military action in the area fed the conspiracy theories, and when the United States detonated 3 nuclear bombs in the area in the 50s, speculation ran wild. Leading up to the fall of Germany in 1945, the Nazis established secret bases under the ice in Antarctica that are in still operation today. As we will discover, the extraterrestrial race of the Reptilians made a pact with the Nazis and afforded them the technology to develop trips in time and managed to travel through different realities. From all indications, the Nazi Reptilian alliance began in the 1920s, long before Hitler came to power. Hitler was introduced to the aliens by means of his friendship with occultist Secret Eckhard, who was a member of the secret society, the Thule. Eckhard invited Hitler to the black magic seances of the society because his astral contacts had identified Hitler as the incarnation of the Antichrist and the new leader to be of the new Germany that Eckhard had fervently been seeking. In these black magic sessions over 3 years, from 1920 to 1923, there is evidence that Hitler's personality changed as he became taken over by a powerful malevolent entity. Eckhard believed that was the Antichrist. Eckhard had no way of knowing or even understanding that his astral contacts were in fact the Reptilians. The Reptilians are known to inhabit the fourth dimension and to masquerade as demons to impress the gullible occultists. They could not reveal themselves as aliens because the idea was too much from outside the comprehension of these eager beaver demon seekers. So it could be said that Hitler became demonic, but in reality he became taken over by these masters of the astral realm, the mentally powerful reptilian overlords. The Draconians, or the Dracs, are from the Orion, Sirius and Draco constellations, and their leaders, the Alpha Albino Royal Dracs, hail from the Orion constellation. The Reptilians are extraterrestrials and that are hybrided with reptilian-based genetics and operate a strict hierarchical system of rank and defer to their superior groups. Draconians are cold-blooded creatures whose skin is made up of scales, shuts and bony plates. They are built to fight and have impressive muscular bodies. Their clawed fingers and toes have 4 digits and a thumb. Reptiles' eyes are usually green or blue, but sometimes are orange, yellow or brown. Males are 7 to 9 feet and females are 6 to 7 feet tall. They have a foul, pungent smell, an odour that is designed to weaken the opponent in battle or to repel enemies. Draconians are not emotional creatures like humans. Their superiors are the Alpha Albino Royal Dracs. Other reptilian species, their subordinates, know their classification, but to gain power and status, they will have to fight for a more prevalent spot in the clan. The Alpha Draconians are in command of the earth-based subterranean reptilians who respect their superiors in the belief that the Dracs hold ownership over earth-based human beings. Draco reptilians view themselves as the most intelligent species in the universe, since they know that Earth, humans, are a result of a relatively recent biological seeding process from multiple planets. The Alpha Draconian Dracs have a royal class which appears to be a lighted colour having almost white scales with winged appendages. They are 2 or 3 sizes of a human and are so much stronger. They are quite menacing and tyrannical, showing little mercy even to members of their own race when they think they have defied their own members or shirked their responsibilities in the management of their earthly resources. Earth-based reptilians appear in command over biological entities known as the smaller greys. The reptilians have developed sonic abilities which are used for mind controlling other species and do not have an emotional body or soul. The known reptilian races on Earth are made of a variety of packs with higher ranks of UN government and military organisations. These groups now compose of a virtual shadow government. This has spanned black projects such as secret space programs, military abductions, and the creation of a military-industrial complex through which these groups can experiment and exploit the alien-based technologies and craft to which they have been given access through their cooperation. It has been well established that we dwell in a multidimensional universe. We on Earth live in the 3rd dimension, which is entirely physical. However, the reptilians are actually a 4th dimensional race. In Hindu physics, the theosophy, this dimension is also known as the astral plane, in which all inhabitants, both reptilian and other creatures, are composed of a finer type of matter in which the atoms vibrate at a much higher rate, making them invisible to the 3rd dimension perception. The reptilians have the power to lower their vibratory rate and to move in and out the physical realm, and so to become visible to those of us living in the 3rd dimension when they choose to great advantage. They prefer to remain in the lower astral because they can best manipulate the human race from that dimension, frequently in the dreamscape, but also through abduction, hypnosis, and subconscious programming. Subconscious programming starts with deciding what you want right now and in the future and focusing on it. The reptilians have access to their archaic records so they can trace family lineages with their quantum computers, and they use them in their general abduction strategies. And since they have the ability to influence unsuspecting human souls between incarnations, they can fine-tune their strategies for control of the surface population. So they really have no need for a continent of their own in the 3rd dimension of the surface world. But their most important attribute of the reptilian species is their artificial intelligence, better known as AI. Reptilian technology is far more advanced than anything we can imagine. Long ago, the reptilians developed quantum science, which is built into their computer technologies and makes it appear almost magical. The human soul is far more advanced and 4th dimensional, reptilian subconscious. The human soul is actually a 6th dimensional, and it consists of our potential soul power that renders the 4th dimensional technologies absolute and powerless. The reptilians know this and spend a lot of time and energy trying to keep us dumb and dumber. They know that once we realise our true power and potential, they will become defenceless. So, in their off-world laboratories, they developed a highly advanced form of artificial intelligence to deal with 5th and 6th dimensional adversaries. In their travels throughout the galaxy and beyond, their scientists learned about a form of artificial intelligence that has the capability to actually administer and control the entire solar system automatically, like a self-driving vehicle, and have used it very effectively in some of the distant worlds in their far-flung empire. Devotees of science fiction films can recognise this technology in Cylons, in the battleship Galactica, and the stormtroopers of Star Wars. In both cases, the entire society functions like a clock without any interventions. requiring very little oversight. It is administered by a robotic race of cyborgs, all controlled by a central quantum computer. In the original version of the battleship Galactica, released in 1978, the Cylons had absorbed 12 human colonies. This way, and the surviving 3 humans embarked on a desperate cross-galactic odyssey to find a new home called Earth. This became a new TV series in 2004, and we now, of course, have become familiar with the white armoured stormtroopers who administer the Empire in the Star Wars films. In both cases, the underlying power is really an organic race known as the Archons, and the Reptilians have learned how to utilise the archonic energies and capabilities to administer their conquered human civilization. History of the Archons. The Gnostics were followers of an ancient mystical faith that suffered intense persecution at the hands of the early Christians, who considered their beliefs heretical. However, most of the primary information related to this religious sect had been lost and destroyed over the years. In December 1947, a discovery was made in a secret bank in Egypt of primary sources related to this influential faith, and intriguingly, those ancient texts contained crucial information about the UFO phenomenon. Could an ancient religious faith have key to the extraterrestrial phenomenon, according to the ancient Gnostic text? These aliens are considerably older than humans, in fact, before the existence of the solar system itself. It is said that these aliens, whom the Gnostics called bunkers, inhabited the solar system but were not able to enter Earth. However, although they cannot physically manifest themselves on this planet, they are still able to have an impact on the behaviour of human beings. It is said that the Archons are an incredibly powerful alien race that can affect human beings with subliminal messages that can alter consciousness. The Vril Society members were supposedly the first group to attempt to back-engineer an extraterrestrial spacecraft. The German writer John von Helsing described this discovery of a crashed saucer in the Black Forest near Freiburg in 1936, and says that this technology was taken and combined with information the Vril Society had received through channeling and was made into a future project called Henubu. What the Freiburg disk may have looked like, it was said to have been smaller than the Henubu 1, with a dome top and bottom, but no dimensions were given. Many have claimed, however, that the SS took the same basic configuration for the Henubu series. German aircraft historian Henry Stevens says, Henubu 1 was supposedly the first large flying saucer developed in Germany. According to plans allegedly obtained in classified SS files, the Henubu 1 was approximately 75 feet in diameter and probably lifted off for the first time in August 1939, a few weeks before the outbreak of World War II. Their source of power was the Black Sun, an infinite beam of light which, though invisible to the human eye, exists in antimatter. The Vril emblem became the Black Sun, a secret philosophy thousands of years old, provided the foundation on which the occult practitioners of the Third Reich would later build. The Black Sun symbol can be found in many Babylonian and Azarian places of worship. They depicted the Black Sun, the Godhead's inner light, in the form of a cross that was not much different from the Germans' night cross. The Vilya race, who lived underground, supposedly had telepathic powers, highly advanced technologies, and were able to do incredible amounts of damage simply by using the Vril wand. The superior ancient race had control of Vril and will run out of habitable spaces underground, and they will have to move up to the surface world. Since many people at the time believed in the possibility of an antediluvian race, there were people who accepted the coming race as fact instead of fiction. Most of the Vril Society's work was supposed to have happened before World War II, with the society tapering off once Hitler had lost the war. Originally connected to other secret societies known as the Thul and other similar societies of the Nazi occultism. The Vril Society quickly became the stuff of legends among those who heard the rumours of the super technology associated with this mysterious sect. One of the most bizarre issues about the Vril Society was how little was written about it during their most active years. Much of the written accounts of the rumours of the Vril Society was found in a book by Louis Paulos and Jacques Bergier in 1967. A large portion of the book spoke about the Vril's doings, including involvement in the legendary Nazi inventions, their communications with aliens, occult dealings, and aiding Hitler and his highest-ranking soldiers to escape to the South Pole. The role of the secret societies is clear in the rise of Nazism, which started with the unification of Germany in 1871. The Enabling Act allowed the Reich government to issue laws without the consent of the German parliament, laying the foundation for the complete Nazification of German society. The law was passed on March the 23rd, 1935, and published the following day. Its full name was the Law to Remedy the Distress of the People of the Reich. Adolf Hitler and the Nazi Party used intimidation and persecution to secure the passage of the law. They prevented 81 communists and 26 of the 120 social democrats from taking their seats, detaining them in Nazi-controlled camps. German judges did not challenge the law. They viewed Hitler's government legitimate and continued to regard themselves as state servants who owed him their allegiance and support. The Enabling Act became the cornerstone of Hitler's dictatorship. The Act allowed him to enact laws, including ones that violated the Weimar Constitution, without approval of either Parliament or the Reich President von Hindenburg. I'm sorry I've got run out of time, but I hope you enjoyed what you heard, and thanks for listening.